It's very important to get your convictions from the right source so that they will be able to stand the test of time. Hello, welcome again to my YouTube channel. I am Aunt Mary, bringing biblical truths to life, especially in relation to the family, which is the basic unit of our society. Today's video, we will be talking about how marriage all began, the genesis of marriage, and what marriage is. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. It was full with all types of living things, and He created man in His image and likeness, and gave him authority to take care of everything He created. For every living thing, there was a companion. But for the man, there wasn't found any companion. So God said, "It is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper fit for him." God caused man to go into a deep sleep. He removed a rib from the man and made a companion. When He brought the companion to this man, oh my God, there was a wow. There was this feeling of completeness, feeling of fulfillment. That's exactly how Adam felt. He found a good thing standing in front of him, and he exclaimed, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she has been taken out of me." God was the officiating minister of that wedding. He initiated it and instituted it with principles that ought to be followed. God wanted man to follow these principles so that this wow, that excitement, that feeling of completeness and fulfillment will always be there. God wanted to be Lord and God in that marriage. God wanted to be present in the marriage so that His principles will be strictly respected, so that that feeling of wow will always be there. That was His essence of instituting marriage. God had two reasons why He instituted the union of marriage. He wanted man to have a companion, and He also instituted marriage based on legitimate needs that were in a man and in a woman. That is why He insisted by saying it is not good for man to be alone, because he has legitimate needs which have to be met. A woman likewise has her own legitimate needs which have to be met by a man. These legitimate needs were placed inside man by God Himself. That's why He instituted the union of marriage. These legitimate needs were not as a result of a fall or imperfection. God decided to put them there, and He defined how these legitimate needs have to be met. Life as a whole is like a puzzle. So when you are coming in the life of a man or a woman, you are like a missing piece coming to complete a life puzzle of that spouse. By so doing, Malachi 2:14 says, you are entering into a covenant with God, that you are there to meet those legitimate needs in your spouse. You are equally entering into a covenant with your spouse. You will be the one to meet the legitimate needs of that spouse. God's presence in the union of marriage indicates how much marriage is important to Him. You don't take it for granted. Once you decide to get married, it means you have decided to take it the way God wants. You want to do it in God's own perspective, making God the Lord of your marriage and God in it, and following the principles so that that wow will always be there. Unfortunately, man has derived his or her own perspectives about marriage because of the fall that occurred in the Garden of Eden. God planted a fruit tree in the middle of the garden, asked them not to eat, and they rebelled. By so doing, everything got upsetted, and man lost his consciousness about God's perspective concerning marriage. In this channel, you will be getting tips on how to retrieve that perspective, for that perspective to be restored. You will be getting tips on how to maintain them so that that wow will always be there. In order for a spouse to meet a legitimate need in his or her spouse, the undying love for God and for your spouse has to be the ruling key. You don't carry out these legitimate needs as a legal duty or a burden, but let your undying love for God and for your spouse fuel your obedience to carrying out this need. Genesis 2:24 says, "A man should leave his father and mother, unite with his wife, and the two shall become one." So, in order for a man to enter into a marriage union, he must be mentally mature, physically mature, socially mature, and spiritually mature, so that he will not have to run back to his parents to ask for advice or assistance to take care of his family. Because in a marriage relationship, he is going to be the spiritual head of his wife, children, and his ministry. So, when you want to enter into this union as a man, you must be mature. In our next video, we will be talking about how these legitimate needs can be met. There are 5 legitimate needs in a man and 5 legitimate needs in a woman. If this video is interesting to you, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification button so that the very next video, when it's released, you'll be the first to get it. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. See you soon.